It is a beautiful Tuesday morning, and of course, as you know, Tuesdays is for the bookworms. Today we are sitting down to talk about some of the books that you can stock in your library, and today is extremely special because it's for the kids. So if you have young kids around the house and you're looking to encourage that culture of reading among them, because I remember growing up, my aunts and my parents, everybody used to love buying me books. I enjoyed reading, and I think, I don't mean to brag, but that's kind of how my vocabulary became so great, you know, because you pick up things in the books, and so it becomes, you not only enjoy it, enjoy the reading, but you're also learning as you go. So it is very important that we start teaching our children to read from a very, very early age and encouraging, you know, them with all these books that they seem to enjoy. Now, today's book is extremely enjoyable, and of course, we are joined by resident bookworm Audrey Chirenje. Audrey, good morning.
Hi, Candace. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
We're tapping into our inner children today.
Definitely. We need to actually encourage the children as well. And like you said, once an avid reader, they'll actually grow and have a wider vocabulary.
So today we are talking about Sloba and the Chameleonaire by Costa Chayambuka. Tell us a little bit about Costa first.
Okay, Costa actually won the NAMA for the children's book this year. So he's actually an amazing guy. He did counseling at school, and he also did chemical engineering. Imagine that. Yeah, so those are his qualifications.
Okay. Out of curiosity, not that really it will affect much, but is Costa a father?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
Why
I ask is because also sometimes you then find that some of them will tell you that I was driven to write this book because, you know, I wanted something for my kids to be able to relate to, or so also understanding just kind of where he's coming from in terms of putting this book together. But it's not that important. It's not that deep. So tell us about Sloba and the Chameleonaire.
Okay, so I think to answer your earlier question, I think his counseling background actually it resonates in this book because you've got the Richard the chameleon. Richard changes clothes at every 10th step. You know, the chameleons, they change colors, right?
Yeah.
So we've got Sloba now coming out as the voice of reason, giving advice, giving insights, and enlightening when there's an issue. So I think that whole counseling background actually shows here.
Right. So what is the storyline here?
Okay, so the storyline is Richard the chameleon used to change clothes willy-nilly. So obviously he was involved in some not so scrupulous dealings, yeah? So as we go through the book, I'm not going to share much. We find that at some point he actually gets in trouble. He's robbed because people see his wealth and they assume, you know, he's got a lot, but he's actually not getting it through scrupulous means. Yes.
So I'm sensing a lot of themes in here that are teachable moments for our kids. I mean, him changing clothes, I mean, I would equate that to just being a show-off, really. And then getting into trouble because of this is like, yeah, you see, this is what happens when you show off. There's clearly a lot of little teachable little moments in there. Is it a book you've been reading with your kids?
I have. My little one, actually, when I got a copy, she actually went through it. That's another thing. This book is for the 9 to 12-year-old, but even the smaller ones can actually go through it because it's got animation, so they can see the pictures, even if they don't relate to the text. So among the lessons in there, you find, number one, don't judge a book by its cover. I mean this literally. But however, society will judge you by how you look and how you sound. But then the lesson is things are not always what they seem. Yes. And then number two, you know, just try and live within your means. We always get this, even at church. Live within your means and then you stay out of trouble.
Now, I like that you said, look, it's 9 to 12, but even the younger ones can go through it as well and enjoy the animation. But how important is it to be, yes, you've got your set demographic, but you're able to then relate to other demographics as well, as especially as an author?
I think if you look with children's books, I'm always saying that, you know, you've got your very advanced children, you know, like the private schools. By 5, 6, they've actually read a lot of books. But then you've got your rural school children. By this age, they probably haven't even touched a book. So I think with this concept that he's bringing in, it's very relatable. It's very good. He's got an upcoming book in winter, again, Sloba and the Crocodile Tears. And then this is the good part, Zimbabwe. He's turned this into film. in animation in Zimbabwe. So it's also coming out soon, and I think it'll be very good for the kids throughout the country.
So you've told us about Richard the Chameleon. Tell us a little bit about Sloba.
Sloba, like I said, even the name Chameleonaire, I mean, this is a type of a lizard, but it's coming out as the uncle, as the sekuru. You know, in our cultures, we always have that voice of reason who is giving out the lessons. You know, when there's a problem, he sits people down and he gives them the lessons, the advice, and the insights. So I like this concept as well, because if you look at our traditional settings, we had Ngano, and would always have the stories Tsuro na Gudo, but there would always be a lesson in that Ngano, and there'll be a voice of reason giving out the advice and lessons.
So he's essentially our adult in the book.
Exactly.
And what is some of the, I mean, without of course disclosing too much, what are some of the little tidbits that Sloba shares throughout the book that kids would definitely, you know, you think are very important for them to know, especially in this day and age?
I think number one, like with this day and age, we've got the whole social media era. You find other kids as early as 8, 10, they've got an IG account, which I find very weird.
Yes.
So I think, like I keep on saying, these are the lessons that things are not always what they seem. So you might see all these colorful things, all these colorful posts that people put, but people are not as perfect as their posts. You know, there's always more to these stories. So it's always good to stay in your lane, to stay in within your circle, and just, like I say, live within your means.
Now, I'm picking up that this might actually be a series that Costa is working on, a series of books featuring Uncle Sloba. Now we're going to call him Uncle Sloba because he is the voice of reason and wisdom, especially in this particular book. Do you think that the continuity of it is something, first of all, that we would definitely have our kids enjoying, but also something that is very important to have when you look at an author developing, especially a series relating to children?
I think it's very critical, because if you look at even starting from the Ngano that I was talking about, there was Sekuru, Gudo, Tsuro, you know, and then it would continue. You'd have a different story, but you'd have more or less the same characters in there. And even if you look at the modern books, your Harry Potters, your Diary of a Wimpy Kid, even back in the day when we were reading the Nancy Drews, the Hardy Boys, you know, you had your main characters and then they'll continue into the next story. So I think it gives the children something to look forward to. You know, like these days we've got a lot of film series, so this can be series in book form for the children, and he's got about 8 books already outlined in this series, which is amazing.
Wow, that's definitely amazing. 8 books is a lot of books and a lot of lessons to share, definitely. But I especially like and I asked about the continuity because I especially like the aspect of it being a character you become related to, you're able to relate to. I mean, a character you become very well acquainted with, and of course then that makes you look forward to what are they going to get up to next, what are they going to be teaching next, what are they sharing next. So I think it's a very good model for him to have picked up and said, look, I'm going to have Sloba go through the different, and he's going through just like Animal Kingdom, like different animals.
Yes, and I mean, he also brings out, you know, like here in Zim, we just think lizards, you know, we just think lizards are the same. But he's trying to tell us there's a gecko, there's a chameleonaire, there's this different types of animals. So I think that's also very profound.
I think that's, definitely very educative, but also very entertaining, which, you know, capturing those young minds is something that's of the essence, I believe. And there are different techniques that can be used to employ that, but I think this is definitely a good method. Now, you mentioned that your daughter reads it. What was, first go through, what was the reactions?
Okay, so even the cover, it actually appealed to her. And then also it's got the hardcover, you know, that the kids are actually used to. So she loved the animal. She saw me holding. She's like, oh, a kid's book. So it's so obvious it's a kid's book and the kids love it. She is 5 years old, but she actually loved it already. And she went through it. Obviously not reading, but going through the animation and pictures.
And you'd be surprised with what bits of the things that they pick up, especially before they get to reading stage, just by pictures, and they could probably narrate the story to you without even reading a word from it. That's very interesting as well. But it also plays towards the development of a certain aspect of their minds as well, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And why I was so excited about this book, like we keep on saying, Candice, we need to expose this literature to Zimbabwe. We've got children's book by Zimbabweans. So our people need to read that. It's very relevant to our culture and our country.
Where do we find this for our kids?
Okay, so this is at Innovate bookstores, which are nationwide, and it's also at the National Gallery at the RGM Airport. And also, he's on social media, Facebook, Costa Jayambuka. You can also hit him up and he'll get you a copy.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Audrey. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Candice.
All right, so that is a book that you definitely can pick up for your kids. And like she said, yes, it's for the age range of 9 to 12, but even the younger ones could enjoy it too. So don't worry about your children's age too much. Pick up the book and let's see how far along their development journey this book helps them go.